Violations of the Sherman Act. Price fixing. That's what we're going to talk about today. That's what's happening in the recycling guy's neighborhood. Let's take a look at a Supreme Court argument. Got to put them spectacles on. Swift and Company versus the United States. Key issue. Does appellate's method of trade in fresh meat violate the Sherman Antitrust Act of July the 2nd, 1890, to protect trade and commerce against unlawful restraints and monopolies? History of the case. Swift and Company bought livestock in Chicago, which they slaughtered in their respective states, creating meat for human consumption. They also sold meat to buyers in different states, shipping it by rail. Swift Slaughterhouse controlled the majority of the trade in fresh meat. They did not compete with themselves. They did not bid against each other, and from time to time they fixed prices at secret meetings. They also received a lower rate for transportation than others. This case was on appeal from the Circuit Court granting an injunction against Swift for violations of the Act of July 2nd, 1890, a law designed to protect commerce from monopolies. Summary of arguments. The United States argued that Swift and others were buying, selling, and shipping meat in a manner and with the intention to gain an economic advantage through control of the market. The government argued that through these acts, the companies had gained control of more than half of the trade of fresh meat. Swift and Company argued that all of these acts were conducted in a lawful manner, and therefore its intent was irrelevant. Now, this goes to the heart of my argument about this price fixing. Let's talk about that for a minute. Sims and its competitors are using price fixing tactics. And what do I mean by price fixing tactics? Let's take a look. I've went over this once before, but I'm going to go over it again. This is Sims Metals receipts. On February the 4th, Sims Metals paid me $106 a ton. When I argued with them about that price, they changed that price to $112 a ton for number 2 unprepared. Then, on the 5th, they paid me $105 a ton for number 2 unprepared. Then on the 13th, they paid me $78 a ton for number 2 unprepared. Then on the 16th, they paid me $90 a ton for unprepared. Then on the 18th, they paid me $94 a ton for unprepared. Then on the 23rd, they paid me $84 a ton for number 2 unprepared. And then on February the 25th, they paid me $91 a ton for number 2 unprepared. And that was in the morning. But then in the afternoon on the same day, they paid me $85 a ton for unprepared. Let me rewind that for you. At 11 o'clock on the 25th, February the 25th, they paid me $91 a ton. Then on the same day, at 3 o'clock, they paid me $85 a ton for unprepared. Then on the 26th, the very next day, they paid me $95 a ton for unprepared. Then on the 27th, they paid me $94 a ton for unprepared. Now here's my argument. Doesn't that sound like price fixing to you? Why doesn't that sound like price fixing? Which is in violation of the Sherman Act. This goes to the heart of me having a problem with Alco's truck in Sims' yard. Now, I didn't talk to a lot of small guys, and they were all warning me, Phil, you know what? They is going to try to get you. Because they ain't going to like that. And I asked them the question, do you think you've been price fixed? They all agree. None of them is going to willing to want to go this route. None of them. This is too heavy a price to pay. But somebody's going to pay it, and it's going to be me. And I'm arguing with anyone who would willing to argue the point that this is not price fixing, that this is just what it is, price fixing. And they're using this price fixing to control the recycling business and to gain an unfair economic advantage. And the new junk man's law in San Francisco has an unintentional consequence of wiping out small business enterprise and small entrepreneurs. That's right. And I'm not no constitutional lawyer, as I said in the previous video. But there is no question in the minds of hardworking, blue-collared guys who are out there trying to feed their families that they're being price fixed to be put out of business. And this price fixing is gaining an unfair economic advantage in the marketplace, and we have no recourse. Let it be known that the price at the scale price, is fixed.